Now, I'll be completely honest with you, comics aren't exactly my forte. I don't think reading the Beano growing up really counts, nor does reading modern Doctor Who and Back to the Future comics. I do, however, quite enjoy reading into the deeper lore of comics, discovering more about characters I only know the basics about. Hell, editing videos for this here channel meant that I ended up down the rabbit hole of parallel universes and discovering there are umpteen different versions of every single bloody superhero. In fact, that's what we're looking at today. The Batman who first appeared in Detective Comics number 27 isn't the exact same Bruce Wayne we've seen in various storylines over the years. Sometimes he's from here, sometimes he's from there, sometimes he bears resemblance to another character, and sometimes he's something completely different entirely. I'm Rich from What Culture, and these are 10 insane alternate versions of Batman you won't believe exist. Number 10. Nazi Batman. I'm hoping that is a typo. No, that's real. Straight out of the gates, this is the most obscure Batman on this list. Known as Leatherwing, this Batman gallivants around Earth 10, a universe in which the Nazis won World War II and Adolf Hitler is the Earth's Führer. In this world, the JLA exists as the JL Axis, a force established to protect Hitler and the Nazi Party. If you thought Bat being a Nazi was bad in itself, turns out that he's a bit of a sleazeball too. In a rather infamous moment, Leatherwing got so excited after watching the alien Forerunner beat the living snot out of someone, he was willing to put aside his prejudices for dinner and interracial relationships. Classy stuff. Number 9. Owl Batman. On Earth 3, or Earth 2, depending on who you ask, the heroes on Earth 1 are the villains here, and vice versa. Instead of there being a Justice League, there is a crime syndicate of America. Batman's Earth 2 or 3 counterpart is Owlman, who is actually Brucey's older brother, Thomas Wayne Jr. Owlman, even though being part of the crime syndicate, didn't exactly see eye to eye with its leader, Ultraman. This universe's equivalent to Superman due to ideological clashes. The fact that he was doinking his wife, Superwoman, a parallel to Wonder Woman, probably didn't help their relationship either. Owlman sure does seem a hoot though. I'll see myself out. Number 8. 1889 Batman. Taking place in 1889, Gotham by Gaslight takes the characters you all know and love and plonks them at the turn of the century. Inspector Gordon makes an appearance, as does Batman of course, and there's only one villain Bats could go up against in this era. Steampunk Joker. I'm kidding, of course, it's Jack the Ripper. This story pits the world's greatest detective against the world's most notorious uncaught murderer. Things don't go entirely to plan, as Bruce ends up being pegged for Jack's various killings. He is forced to solve the case and break out of prison before he's executed, which of course he does, he's Batman, and confronts the Ripper himself. A Gotham by Gaslight animated film lands early next year, and a video game adaptation was once in the works, but was canned due to the developers unfortunately not getting the rights. Number 7. Soviet Batman. Superman Red Son is a quintessential miniseries which begs the question of what would happen if Kal-El had landed in the Soviet Union instead of the States. With the focus shifted from the nuclear arms race to super people, America were understandably worried about this Superman, known in-universe as Red Son. So they turn to Lex Luthor, who enlists Batman. This Batman, who is orphaned by Stalin's estranged son, working alongside Luthor, lure Wonder Woman into a trap to bait the Red Son, in a vain attempt to sap his powers. No surprise is that the Red Son turns up and assists Wonder Woman in her escape. Batman is left on the verge of capture and he... spoilers. You'll have to find that one out for yourself. Number 6. Green Lantern Batman. Over on good old Earth 32, DC asked an interesting question. What if Hal Jordan never received that ring, but Bruce Wayne did instead? In Batman in Darkest Night, after Bruce botches his first attempt at fighting crime, he receives Abin Sur's ring and is inducted into the Green Lantern Corps. In this single-part story, the Guardians of the Universe question Bruce's role as a Lantern, he's severely beaten by Sinestro before escaping, and both Commissioner Gordon and Alfred die. Moral of the story, Batman doesn't make a good Green Lantern. Number 5. Vampire Batman. Do you remember that one time Batman became a vampire, fought Dracula, and killed pretty much everybody in his own universe? No? Well, unfortunately, that's because it's not canon. In this bizarre story, known rather aptly as Batman and Dracula, Batman is given his powers by a rogue vampire Tanya in order to take down Dracula. Once Vampire Bats defeats Dracula, see what I did there, Joker swoops in and gains control of his remaining minions. Batman also defeats Joker and chews him to bits. Nice. After Alfred drives a stake into Bruce's heart, crime in Gotham skyrockets, so much so that Alfred removes said stake in order to revive Gotham's protector. After his time away, Batman goes on a bloodlust rage, decapitating and draining almost all of his enemies. Alfred, Commissioner Gordon, Two-Face and Killer Croc team up to kill Bruce, but Alfred ends up drained by bats like the rest of them, and Gordon gets crushed by a rock. Brutal stuff. Number 4. Frankenstein Batman. Yep, you heard me right, Frankenstein Batman. Of course, similar to vampire bats, this all takes place in another reality, specifically that of Batman Castle of the Bat. In this story, Bruce's parents are still killed, as always, but he becomes a doctor to follow in his father's footsteps. However, he's enamored by death and reanimation, and you know where this is going. After locating his father's brain, Bruce places the brain in a patchwork body, infuses it with bat DNA, because, well, Batman, and there's all the lightning and the "it's alive" and fun ensues. The creature battles robbers and criminals as you'd expect, but ends up becoming more bat than man. What follows is a tale of this bat thing leading Bruce to the circumstances of his death. So, Frankenbat. Yep, that happened. Number 3. Stan Lee's Batman. Stan Lee is the ever-so-lovable face of Marvel Comics, so what's he doing on a DC list? Well, back in 2001, Lee, alongside DC, produced the Just Imagine series, in which he recreates the most popular DC heroes in his own way. Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern and The Flash, just to name a few, and of course, Batman. An extremely wealthy Afro-American man, Wayne Williams, is set up by a gang leader known as Hans and ends up in prison. While there, he meets a scientist, Frederick Grant, who helps him train his mind. Once released, he plans to track down Hans, who he's convinced murdered his mother. Along the way, he takes up wrestling under the character Batman and ends up becoming famous before he even confronts Hans. We love you, Stan, but we'll stick to the original origin story. Thanks. Number 2. Superman Batman. We all know Batman and Superman have a past. Most of the time they come out friends, but we know they've had their scrapes. What if, however, they were the same person? In this universe, Kal-El ended up in the arms of Thomas and Martha Wayne. He still sees them murdered as we know, but instead of breaking down aside his dead parents, he fries the mugging twats with his heat vision. Of course, he still becomes Batman, but with all the power of Superman and the violent, broken mind of Bruce Wayne, he is utterly terrifying. In the end, Lois Lane convinces Bruce to take on the more hopeful and inspiring mantle of Superman, which is great, but too late for the criminal Super Bats had already beaten to a pulp. And number 1, Wolverine Batman. Take a love child between Wolverine and Batman, give it a Robin and Jubilee love child sidekick and pit them against a Joker Sabretooth hybrid foe named Hyena. Sure, this sounds like some cringy bollocks straight from Tumblr and DeviantArt, but this weird stuff is the real stuff. Logan Wayne, yes really, saw his parents murdered in front of him before he was whisked off to Canada to live with his uncle. This uncle was also eventually murdered. Logan lived with some nuns, then ended up in the Weapon X program where all that adamantium stuff took place, then Logan Wayne returned to New Gotham to fight under the name Dark Claw. Ugh. If you're into that stuff, sure, but you do you. I'm gonna leave. And that's our list. What other bastardized versions of Batman would you like to see? Personally, like to see Ewan as Bats and Jules as Robin just to mix up their dynamic a bit, plus it'll tie quite well into my fanfiction. Anyway, head to whatculture.com for more comics content and don't forget to follow comics on Twitter. I'm Rich from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.
God, look at that! They made it through to the end of the video! God, well done you. I wouldn't have.
We're so proud.
Yeah, so why not like, share, subscribe below for more fun like this? And also, there's some videos to the left and the right between me and my boy here, Ewan, and you can catch more of us. It might be okay.
It might be.
Probably won't.